All right. Welcome to my nightmare. I'm having some major troubles again with Helix messing up its copy and paste when using HX Edit. So I was going to take a little break and watch Barry John's studio talk. He's got a video called Digital Mixer or Recording Interface. I watch this guy's channel a lot. I really don't know too much about him, but I like it. So let's have a look here. When the it's a question that actually comes up a lot, and I think the line is kind of blurred between them anyway.
Welcome to
So
Studio
let's
Talk.
take a look.
I get asked this question a lot, and that is, should I buy a digital mixer as my recording interface, or should I buy a traditional audio interface as my recording interface? Well, today we're going to talk about the reasons and the pros and cons of both so you can ultimately decide. Now, understand, I'm going to give you my personal opinion. This is one of those questions that, depending on where you are, there really is no wrong or right, because there's so many different variables that can take you in different directions to justify one over the other. And so all I can do is give you some things to consider when you're thinking about it, and ultimately tell you what I would do if I were in your shoes and why. Let's start this conversation with...
I'll tell you what, if you're okay with Desiccon drivers, which is the vast majority of drivers on the market, Audient, Behringer, probably Motu, I'm not sure. But most of them, I think Focusrite. If it's USB, it's almost certainly you got Desiccon drivers. And before the chip shortage, those Behringer XR18s were like $500, and you got 16 mic preamps and a recording interface for 16 channels, or possibly more. I think maybe it's like 18 or something. And so that's a pretty screaming good deal using that thing just as an audio interface. So, like I said, it's pretty blurred. And some of these other things, they work okay as mixers, even though they're interfaces. But let's see what he's got to say.
Digital mixers. Digital mixers can be quite compelling when you look at overall feature base that's all packed into one, considering the price. You can get digital mixers anywhere from $800 really up to $2,500, and that's the range that I'm talking about right now for the sake of discussion, for you to be able to consider what your options are. Beyond that, it's really a totally different discussion at that point. But let's talk about them. Digital mixers originally came out not with the idea or the concept that they would be used as recording interfaces. That kind of evolved a little bit later on. They really came in for live use and really replaced, like, for example, when I was a young guy playing in bands and things like that, if you needed compressors on your drums and things like that, you'd have to have an individual Hart 19-inch.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy what you get in some of these digital mixers. The XR18, and I finally got to use the QSC, I think it's Touch Mix, and the Allen and Heath QUSB, I think it's called. I know the Allen and Heath is also a interface. I'm not sure about the QSC Touch Mix, but yeah, they had all these things that you used to have to patch in, or you couldn't afford them anyway. They were nice gate, nice compressor, EQ, reverbs, all kinds of stuff, all built in on these things.
Rack hardware compressor for each one of those. If you wanted multiple different types of effects, be it delay or reverb, you'd have to have a reverb unit. You'd have to have a delay unit, and your EQ was always built into your board. And so that was expensive. I mean, super expensive to do all that and get any kind of quality. Well, today, digital mixers have replaced all of that. You don't really need any of that anymore, saving you a lot of money. Today, if you look at it from someone from a previous generation or generations, you would see that, they're very, very, very compelling for live use. There's no question about it. Absolutely essential, in my opinion. Then later on, they started adding recording features, and mainly they started giving the ability to record on board, whether you could record straight to an SD card as an example, or an external drive.
Yeah, that's another thing. For a lot of guys that really just want to capture the live performance of their band, being able to record straight onto the unit is pretty awesome. I know some of these don't really let you do that all that well. I think with the X32s, you can put a stick in there and record straight to it. I'm not sure about the rest of them.
And then they started adding, back in the day, FireWire ports and then Thunderbolt ports and USB-C ports and things like that. So overall, like I said before, what you get in a digital mixer typically usually is automated faders, motorized faders, okay? And EQ is typically built in. So your EQ, your compression are built into all of your channels typically.
I wouldn't, honestly, I wouldn't record any of that. I would handle that later. And this is assuming one of those physical mixers that actually has a physical faders. A lot of them don't, like the XR18, for instance. You know, you just that's all on your phone or your iPad or whatever.
And they typically have a multi-effects processor. Depending on the level that you get, you could probably run multiple instances of that and create various sends on the mixer. So you can really do a lot with them, and they can be quite powerful. I think one of the main reasons I think a lot of people, and it depends on the generation, that go towards digital mixers is they feel daunted by digital audio workstations and the whole process. They just want something that's simple. Your ability to just go in and get something basic, record it, and mix it in a desk that they're quite familiar with. They grew up, using analog desk, and they understand that, and so the learning curve is greatly diminished overall on a digital mixer.
I think that's only true at the very beginning, like for turning up or down a channel, panning something. After that, basically, you're going into menus and you're doing a lot of stuff, and I really don't think a DAW's any harder at that point. And if you're talking about recording and you're just using the thing as an interface, I don't think you need to do much on most of these. You just, hopefully you can do it pre-EQ and pre all that stuff, but it shouldn't be that tricky.
If that's you, I think, digital mixers can be quite compelling, but let's talk about why digital mixers maybe aren't the best investment of your money. In other words, your return on investment. So let's take, for example, you're going to buy a digital mixer that is $1,500, right? That has all of your mic pre's built in. Let's say, for example, it has 16 or 24 mic preamps built into it. So you're getting that for $2,400. You have to imagine to be able to pack that many mic preamps, as well as all of the faders, the case that it comes in, all of the electronics inside of it, that compromises had to be made somewhere. In other words, what is the quality of the mic preamps on that digital mixer compared?
Okay, well, I'll tell you this. Let's see, I know that my page is having some trouble. Let me see if it actually loads up. Because I don't actually think this is an audio argument. Looks like my website might still be down, but many of you guys know I did gear measurements of all sorts of stuff, and the XR18's converter and mic preamp quality, it was fine. Honestly, I got to look into why my website is dead. That's kind of scary. I saw some problems the other day. That's a bummer. But I can just say that when we actually tested this stuff, there really wasn't any audio quality compromise recording the XR18. And that's one of the cheaper ones. That's the Behringer one. So I don't think, it's true, if you have the same amount of money to spend and you're going to have one with less features, you could spend more money on part of the features that matter, but it doesn't seem to make any difference to sound quality.
Compared to what you can get on a pretty decent, so let's say $1,000 or $1,200 recording interface. What are those mic preamps? What's the quality of those difference going to be? And I'm going to tell you, it's going to be quite significant. Also, what is it?
All right, that's a claim that you got to prove. I tested this stuff myself. Many other people have tested this, and that just doesn't seem to hold up. But hopefully he's going to provide some evidence, because when you make a claim like that, that's really a strong claim. So what's the significant difference?
Durability of that. That's a question I think you have to ask. Now, I can't say that it's not durable, but I've sure heard plenty of horror stories where digital mixers simply don't hold up. And so when you look at all of that, and they're also recording digital, they're also adding digital to analog conversion and analog to digital conversion within it. So it has its built-in converters. Well, you have to imagine that sacrifices have to be made there. Maybe the specs of that analog to digital conversion is nowhere near on par with something in the 1,000 to 1,500.
Well, that's just not true. It's just not true. We've tested this. I don't know that there's an apples to apples one to do, but we actually did compare. I think I compared a Behringer 8200 to the XR18, and they're pretty much identical.
$100 range. So if you're going to spend $2,500 on a digital mixer, you can easily buy a control surface as well as a recording interface. Are you going to get as many mic preamps? No, but do you really need that? I mean, if you're recording your band all the time, and let's say, for example, you're at rehearsal and you want to be able to capture practices and things like that, a digital mixer is absolutely fantastic for something like that. It's really easy, and you don't have to worry about any computer issues or anything like that. It just works. But it's the compromises that they have to make when they put so much in that unit for that price. You have to.
I don't think so. I think if you make an apples to apples comparison, I'm trying to think of an interface and a mixer where they're exactly the same price for the same number of mic preamps. I don't think that exists. I think the mixer is actually always going to be more expensive. And when you test this, it's just not what ends up happening.
Imagine a lot of compromises are made.
You imagine it,
also,
but you got to show it.
You know, when it comes to the ability of the quality of the audio coming out of it, is it going to be on par? That's the
yes. That again, we've tested this. Like, this is a claim. When you make this claim, you got to prove it.
Question you have to ask yourself. We've come a long way with this. So I think the discrepancy between some of these things is nowhere near as vast as it used to be. You can certainly do good quality work using them. There's a lot of people out there that do it and do it on a daily basis. Understand that if you're in a digital mixer, you're in a minority if you're using that in your home studio. You are in a minority. Most of them are made for live use. So, in other words, typically with that digital mixer, it wouldn't be uncommon for a few years later to be completely replaced with a whole new interface with features way beyond that. And every time they do that, that means the support for the digital mixer that you bought. Where's that support going to be? Meaning keeping drive.
I think this stuff still happens with any interface. And honestly, the X32 is one of the oldest digital mixers that out there that people are still really using. And there's still drivers made for that. Let's see when the last drivers were made. Let's see. Behringer X32 drivers. Again, these are Thesicon drivers. Software. Firmware. XUSB drivers, 450. Oh, 512. When was that made? Let's see if they find a way to tell what this is. Okay. Wow, 2021. Well, still yet. I mean, things still working. So, yeah, I don't know about this.
Drivers updated, firmware updated, things like that. Where is that going to be in 6, 8, even 10 years? I mean, if
I'd say the same thing about interfaces. Unless you're talking about RME, your interface is very likely to be obsoleted and no longer supported no matter what.
Quality recording interface, it can easily, and I mean easily, last you 10 years. No problem whatsoever. I've had recording interfaces last me much longer than that. So when you invest in a recording interface, what are you going to get? You know, you're not going to get as many preamps, but your microphone preamps are going to be a higher quality comparatively, right? You're not going to compare a digital mixer to a $400 recording interface. That would not be fair. You'd really be in the $1,000 to $1,500 range for that, excluding the faders, right? And so ultimately, you're going to get better microphone preamps for sure. You're not going to get as many, but they're going.
Okay, when you say for sure, again, you have got to back that kind of thing up with evidence. I don't see I'm not seeing the evidence. I'm not hearing the evidence. I'm just hearing the claims.
to be better. So you have to ask yourself, how many do you truly need at one time? Ultimately, the analog to digital conversion and the digital to analog conversion is going to be far superior in that recording interface when you get into that price range.
Again, you're making these claims, but where is the evidence?
The stability is going to be rock solid. It's likely going to be an interface that you find is supported for a very, very, very long time.
They use the same drivers. They're going to be supported just as long.
As an example, RME just came out with a brand new interface that is kind of the daughter to the UFX3 that has tremendous potential. That thing will be supported for the next 15, 20 years, probably, as an example. Not every vendor supports their
Again, that's RME. That's a whole different story. Like, you can't compare RME to the rest of the market.
Products that long. But your bigger players, when you get into that price range, you're typically dealing with a more serious contender. And so it's going to be something, an investment that's...
No. Whatever you buy, you're going to end up with Dessicon drivers, unless you're talking about Universal Audio, which I wouldn't really be messing with anyway. And then there's the whole Thunderbird stuff that, it's such a crapshoot with Thunderbird.
It's going to last you for a very, very long time. There's many kind of potential downsides to going the digital mixer, but it's also understandable if you just need something that's easy, that you don't have to put any thought into, that you can just get over that initial little learning curve, which is not that great. Plenty of YouTube videos out there for just about every digital mixer out there, and get your head around that real quick. You can get up and going very quickly, and it really provides almost a worry-free type of environment. If this guy can figure it all out, so can you. So for me, absolutely, for all the reasons I talked about, a recording interface is a much, much better way to go. You're going to get a better return on your interface. You're likely to get much better quality conversion, and your mic preamps built in are great. So I hope you've enjoyed this topic today.
Sorry, this was kind of a dud. All right, I'll see you guys later. I'm going to go fight with this line system.